Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to be teaching about how to create a frame or rather GUI, which is a graphical user interface using Java, right? And I truly apologize that I won't be able to show you the results of the GUI. Maybe I'll just leave them on the on my repo as screenshots. The problem is I'm using Microsoft's inbuilt recorder, and it does not take it does not record anything outside the current window that I'm in. So yeah, pardon me for that one. But each and everything that I'm going to be doing is exactly what needs to be done for creating a frame, right? Now, I have to make mention that I'm not really a Java fanatic. I'm not really much into programming in Java, and somebody had helped me earlier into how to do these things. By the way, I'm also learning these things, so just try to understand that I'm also teaching while learning this thing, right? And I'm going to be making these comments a lot to say that please pardon me, I am still learning Java. So I mainly program in other languages, web-based, and that's where I'm more confident in. But I'm just doing this to help you guys out as well, right? So what I did first was to implement the action listener. And again, I was told not to use this, but I still use this because I just find it easy to use the implement action listener, because when I do that, it gives me this light bulb that calls me to implement all abstract methods. And when I do that, it gives me that method over here, of which I can just delete the words inside, and then I can use that to run any events, right? So without going further, I'm also just going to create the main class, the main method rather, from where the program will be running, and also the constructor, which is frames GUI. Okay. So in the constructor is where I'm going to be initializing the variables for our frame. In the main class is where everything is going to be running from, because your compiler looks for the main method when it's starting to run your program. And in the actions performed method, that's where our event listeners are going to go in, right? So first of all, I'm going to create the JFrame, and you have to import the necessary values from the JavaX swing, as you can see right here. I usually just start typing and then press Control Space, and then when I press Enter, it imports everything for me, so I don't really have to memorize every other thing that comes with it. So frame is equal to the JFrame, and in there I'm going to put parameter code. Let's just call it student info. So this database is going, this frame is just, it's not going to do much, right? I'm just going to create a few forms, and then, I forgot the new keyword right there. I'm just going to create a few components in the frame, but it's really not going to do anything. It's just going to pop up a little J button and whatnot and print some stuff to the console. And from there, you guys can work up what you want to do with it as according to what you want to do with it, right? So this parameter that I just put in here is what's going to show up in the Windows title bar, right? And then so from there, let's put in a little bit more components. I'm gonna enter label, so label, and as you can see, it imported everything for me there. I'm just gonna remove that and press a star so that it imports everything, so that I don't have to keep importing each and every component. So label, I'm gonna call it LBL underscore name. Let's go to new label. And in there, I can put the parameter of what I want to print, what I want to show up on the label. Right? the text that's going to show up. And I'm just going to replicate that several times. Shift delete, just going to separate these. So label, surname, label, student number, next label, address. And as you can see, I'm using snake case here to make the labels, to create the label names. Let's put a small letter. You can use any kind of casing you want. You can use the camel casing, which would be LBL, like contact. But then it's just advised in programming that when you're naming variables, especially with GUIs, to give the prefix of the type of component that you're using. So in this case, it's a label, so I put LBL. For button, it could be BTN. For TextField, TXT, and so on and so forth. So just have to remove these extra values. So surname, student number, and address, and contact. I hope I got all those right. So the next part would be the text fields. So text field, not text area, because text area is a giant text field. But in this case, we just want that small little block where you enter, like you're doing a form, right? So txt underscore name. Again, snake case, so it has to be small letters. New txt field, and this one takes the parameter of how long the field should be, right? So I'm just gonna paste that there, replicate it several times. So these labels will be in conjunction with the text field. So I'm just gonna copy the rest of the endpoints and paste them down there. I think I need one more text field. Yeah, I do. And the content. There we go. And the other thing I need to place in is the panel. Right? And mind you, you can name these variables in green whatever you want. Again, sorry for not zooming in a bit early. You can name these green values whatever you want. It's really up to you, but it's best to give them a much more descriptive name so that when somebody else is looking at the code, they know exactly what you're doing. So we have our labels, we have our text field, and I'm just going to create one button, capital B, and give it a btn underscore submit. Submit. Is a new button. My intelligence is much slower than I. Okay. So in there, it takes in the value of what's going to show up as your button text. So in this case, I'm just going to say add student. Okay, I think that should be it. If I've missed anything, I'm going to come back to it when I'm running the program. So for the again, my friend told, in the previous videos, I came here and said fr.set visible true as the initial values, right? But a friend advised me not to do that, but to do this at the very end of my frame, because sometimes it runs into issues. and I truly agree with him. Just that when I was doing it, it's because it was for a very small form, so it didn't really matter. But for best practice, please do this at the very bottom. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add everything to the panel. So pn.add component, and the component will be the name. So I'm going to add these in the order which they're going to show up on the frame. All right. So Ctrl+C. Just going to replicate that several times. Make sure it's formatted. So in here, I'm going to enter the txt, and then the LBL, the surname, and then txt, get the surname. And then next we have, what do we have next? I have the student number, so LBL, student number, and txt, student number, and we have, we have the address. Okay, it's going to be txt address. And we have the contact, and txt contact. Okay, I had a little too much of the components here. Okay, cool. So from there, we're going to add the panel to the frame. So fr.add pn. So you might be wondering, like, can't you just add the panel of these components to the frame? Yes, you can do that, but then there's a layout issue that happens, right? I'm not going to cover that in this video, but even when I add these values to with these components to the frame right now, they're just going to appear in a row, in one simple row, and they're going to adjust with the size of the frame, right? Now, you'll notice that when you're doing this. What you need to do is to set bounds. So maybe at a later stage, I will do the set bounds, but not in this video, right? So what you do is set bounds. You set the layout of the frame and whatnot. It's a little bit too much for this video, so I'm just trying to cover as little as I can, but also just trying to stay on point, right? So let's fr.set set size, because we need to have a fixed size for it. So set size, I'm gonna give it a 250 by 250, separated by a comma, because these are parameters. Excuse me. Yeah, I think that should actually work. So I'm gonna see on my end if this is actually working, because I've just typed all this stuff without even testing. So here I'm gonna call my constructor, so new frame GUI, and make sure that that's running. I run the file, and yeah, it's working, but it's not working. Okay, it's working. Yeah, everything is working. Just that I can see my buttons. So I'm going to set this to 300 by 300. By the way, the code is available on GitHub, so please just download this code and make sure you run it in your system so that you see these values, right? Oh, that was the problem. I did not add the buttons at all. Okay, so let's see. Again, I'm also learning how to do this Java thing, so hence all these things that happen. So yeah, I'm gonna file again, And on my end, it's showing, yeah, it's showing just fine. Just that I might need to increase the size of that. So 500 by 500. And I think that should be okay. Okay, so from there, now we need to make sure that our button has an event to it, right? So I'm going to say btn dot add, dot, rather, not just btn submit dot add action listener dot this. And in this keyword, you can replace it with the actual action listeners that you want, right? But I just like to add them over here and then make sure that the actions are created down here, right? So it's up to you to create the action listener in there and leave it like that. That's all good and fine. This is programming. There's so many ways to do it, but I would prefer that if you can learn how to create the action listener right inside the parameter of the action listener, and that should be good and fine. But I just do this for memory's sake so that I remember what exactly I'm doing, right? So in here, I'm going to say E, which is this keyword right here, E for the action event, dot get source is equal to btn submit, then do something in here. So for now, I'm just going to print to the console something. Literally, I'm going to print something. And then when I click the button on my end, you're going to see over here in the run that I actually clicked something. Oh, there's something else I forgot. When I close my application, it's not actually stopping. So this is what I'm going to do. It's fr dot set default close operation to JFrame dot exit on close. So this will make sure that when you close your frame, it actually closes and not keep it running. Okay, so now I'm going to run the file, and then you're going to see in the console. So now I'm clicking the button, and you're seeing something popping up in my console right now. And I just noticed that my size is getting bigger. So 450. Okay, cool. So now let's make this just a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to grab the data from my string name is equal to txt underscore name dot get text. Right. So what I'm doing here is just grabbing the value of the input box, which is the text field for name, and then passing it to the variable, and then I'm going to use that variable and print it somewhere, right? I'm going to print it to the console. So the next one would be control space, the surname, address, student number, the address, and then the contact information. Okay. Now I just have to change this to surname to STNO and the address. And finally, contact. Okay. So now when I press the button, all the values are going to be grabbed and then passed into these variables. Now, in other cases, you might have a scenario where you have to calculate numbers. So maybe let's say, for instance, that you had to add the contact number to the student number because they're just actual numbers, right? In that case, when you do a get text, it's in string format, right? It's in string format, and you can't necessarily add the numbers because they'll just concat, right? But you need to have them as integers. or doubles or floats or any other one of those number types. And then in here, what I do is, I say integer dot value of, and then in there I pass like that. So whatever value is going to come in is going to be a string, right? But then with this function that we've just done, it's going to turn that value into an integer and pass it to the contact field, right? So that's how you parse. There's several ways of which you can parse, but this is the one that I usually use, right? And if you're parsing, if it happens that a user entered a string and then they're trying a string, maybe like a name, say John, and it tried to parse that value, it's going to crash to say input mismatch, right? So you're going to have an exception over there. So to avoid that, you can just put a try catch. Oh, what did I do? You just put a try catch, and then you can catch the specific exception to say input mismatch or parsing error, whatever exception that you might have, and then just use a JFrame dot show message dialog. I usually leave the first value as null, and the string to say please use numbers and not text, right? So that's just to catch the error. Of course, it's not going to print the error. It's just going to print the specific message as a pop-up dialog, right? Now, since these values are actually going to be a string, I just have to return back to the previous setting. Okay, and that should work. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to print all these values to the screen so that you guys can see them. So the value, the name equals plus name, Control C, Control V, Control V, 2, 4, 6. So I need 2 more. So surname, student number. Wait, I think I printed way too many. Wow, my math is really bad. Okay, and in here I have to replace them with the correct values as well. Oh. Control C. Okay, so let's run the program. I hope and believe that it's going to run. So I'm running the frame right now, and I can see it on my end, and I'm going to enter some values. Name should be Michael. Again, pardon my spelling. And the surname will be Jones. Student number, I'm just going to type in some random numbers there. And the address to be 257 that street. Again, all this code is available, so you can run this program on your PC, and yeah, given that you have Java on it. So I'm pressing the button, and you should see the values right now over there, right? So yay, there you go. Those are the values. And I'm not sure why it's still printing something. Oh, because of this line right. So yeah, In fact, I'm going to leave that other parsing of the integer down here. So int with small letters, and I'm going to say integer dot value of, and you can do this vice versa, right? If you're parsing a value. What's wrong? Oh, because I already have this value, so I'm just going to say parse. And there's so many ways that you can parse in Java. This is the one that I personally prefer. It's just prejudice, really. It's not like it's so special or anything. So, yeah. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you create a GUI frame and with action listeners, so that when you click a button, it does some sort of thing. So if you are going to pass these values to a database, you probably have something calling to a function, like the function that we created in the previous video, and then passing the parameters down here, and then make sure that they're saved. So the parameters would be these ones, and then make sure that they're saved to your database. Okay.